Welcome to the Co-Creators Podcast. I'm Chloe Anderson.
And I'm Lakita Williams, and we help leaders and organizations build the future of work. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Co-Creators Podcast by Co-Create Work. We are thrilled that you are here, and we are wrapping up our AI culture and workplace series. And I have to say that all of these episodes had such big takeaways for me and things that I left after speaking with our guests and implemented action steps, which I'm excited about, but just showed me how much there is to learn in this space, but also how much we can activate and how many steps we can take.
So true. And I think also we've heard so much feedback about these episodes in
Yeah.
terms of like how helpful they've been. And so what's also been interesting is I think while we're wrapping up this series, don't be surprised if you get a few more AI episodes with some guest speakers in the future in our next season of the podcast, because I do think it's so important that we understand this, especially as executives, as leaders, right? Like really understanding what this looks like. How do we bring this in? How do we do it in a way that feels as ethical and socially responsible as we can be, knowing that this is the direction things are headed, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this opportunity around AI being new technology, we don't really have the option to just step away from it. We asked a question in most of the episodes, are you bullish? Or are you bearish? Regardless of what that answer is for you, you need to know and understand artificial intelligence, the ways that it relates to your organization and industry or not, if you want to use it in your personal life or not. The answer has never been, at least from my perspective, to ignore or walk
Yep,
away.
yep.
And not saying that from a place of any sort of shame, but more of like what we have seen in our experience and across industries, partnering with leaders in different ways. So, in order to do that, we want to bring you information that is as helpful and useful as possible. And we hope that these episodes have done that. And to your point, Chloe, we're going to continue to have those conversations. And I think we as an organization as well will also continue to be highly engaged with AI as we see so many opportunities for our clients and our partners and our community. So looking forward to continuing the conversation. What we thought could be really fun is to just do a really quick maybe roundup of our biggest takeaways from each guest. It was an honor to have all of them, such deep knowledge, so many great takeaways. We got so many emails and responses from these episodes, as Chloe mentioned. So we'll just do a little bit of our faves to go along here. Chloe, let's start with Martha Shaughnessy, who is the founder and CEO of the Key PR. Biggest
And
takeaway? Yeah.
yeah, for me, there were so many good things, and this is a little tangential, not tangential, but in terms of what the key does also, and Martha's in PR and communications, right? But that fact when she talked about communication needs to be at the table early.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's not just for AI, 100% for AI, right? Like we've seen so many companies in the news make big mistakes
Yeah.
in their communication around
Yeah.
AI and how they're using AI and what AI is going to look like. And I don't think this is just true for AI. I think this is true for anything, any change, any shift you're making. Communication has to be at the table early. You
Yeah.
need to be thinking through that communication piece. So that just reinforced that for me, like how important communication really is.
Yeah, it's at the core of everything. I think we talk about this so much in our work around shared language, working agreements, the different pieces that you use. And so to hear Martha's perspective, not just because she's an expert and that's the company that she owns, I think
Right,
that
right.
drove her decision on why to go into that area of work. So I agree, that was so helpful. Another thing that stood out that she talked about is that, right, AI does have this opportunity to do tremendous good, but she also said it could cause tremendous harm. And so the opportunities there could be significant, right? She mentioned the example of tutoring. She mentioned the example of folks who learn differently and it being a tool for that. We hear a lot about the productivity gains, but we don't hear as much about the opportunities for learning and personal growth that can come along with the use of artificial intelligence. And so I love that she highlighted that. But to her point, right, there's environmental damage, which we go on to talk about with other guests, and energy
Mm-hmm,
demands
mm-hmm.
that come up. And so the goal here is to have leaders in place and to partner with leaders and folks across the organization to understand how do we use AI, when do we use AI, when does it make sense, but that diverse lived experience, diversity across all types of difference, so we can make good choices and navigate well, I think is exactly what we need. And so I really appreciated her point on that.
Yeah, such a good conversation, as
Yeah.
were all of these.
Yeah.
And with that, our next episode was Andrea
Yes.
Jordan. And her episode I love too, especially the work that she's doing from like the empathy with her company Empathium. So she's the founder and CEO of Empathium. And for that episode, the importance of humanity, right,
Yes.
coming through as far as like you can't just remove humans
Mhm.
from the loop and expect it to work, right?
Mhm.
So that so critical and valuable. And I think we've all had that experience when we've been, chatting with the customer service bot, which is AI, and going, I just need to talk to someone human, right? And that's obviously it's much deeper and bigger than that, but I feel like that's an example that really illustrates, right, how that feels. And so, yes, AI can do so many things, and we have to keep humanity at the center of it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is so much a part of what she's doing with her company. The thing that also resonated with me deeply is that as humans, we still have opportunities for development of emotional intelligence, growth in how we communicate with each other, especially in these spaces where communication every single moment really matters, like in healthcare, education, human services, which is what her company is looking to bridge the gap in. And I hadn't necessarily thought about again AI as a use case or an opportunity in those spaces to help us further develop. There's probably a lot of controversy around that, and I think we there is big opportunities for us to grow in emotional intelligence that AI can help again to bridge a gap in how we learn and develop those skills. We can learn and develop in many different ways, and so such a great conversation. And the one that stood out to me probably the most around how else can we use artificial intelligence? Yeah.
Right. And in ways that really help humanity,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Totally.
Not just about productivity and efficiency, but about actual like improved quality of life for
Skill.
humans.
And yeah, I love it. Yep. So up
Perfect.
next, we had Jordache Johnson, and Jordache was he got a lot of responses. He was very, very lit up and passionate. Is if you've listened to that episode, you can tell he's very bullish on AI, and the passion comes through. And I think he outlined for what the reasons that he is. The thing that stood out to me the most was his conviction around human beings not being left behind and folks not being left behind in these conversations. And he said, you don't learn AI from like one course or one 2 day event. You have to do small experiments and let those skills build in each of those experiences, let those skills build over time. And that really resonated because I think that's how we actually learn. We learn by doing, we learn some from modeling, we learn some from reading, but also getting in there and actually having the experience. And he gave several steps around how you can do that, where to start from. And so it was a really powerful episode and something I walked away and was like, okay, how can I activate this immediately?
Right. I almost feel like I need to listen to that episode like once every
Yeah.
few weeks just
Yeah.
to like remind myself because there's so much you can do. And I really love his approach in the adapt framework that he
Yeah.
shared in terms of like how to integrate AI from a like systems
Yeah.
mindset, right?
Yeah.
And that it's not just about, oh, here's this tool, go try it out, but about actually being intentional. And what we've seen a lot of companies do right now is they do exactly, here's a tool, we're going to integrate AI without the system or the intention behind it. And
Hmm.
so really being thoughtful so that it's not just like AI slop
Yeah.
or you don't get actual adoption and integration because it doesn't fit in, right? So you really, and I think, Lakita, this builds on what you were saying around the learning piece is it takes time and it takes
Yeah.
intention. And I love the idea of people doing it together, of them having
Yeah.
conversations within the organization, sharing their experiences, taking some of the fear out of it or some of the just the unknown, right? People can talk to each other and understand how they're all using it and doing it in a very systemic way, like systematic way.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think it's just huge opportunity there, no matter where you are. For Jordache, his level of expertise is really clear. And it's an opportunity that if this is brand new for you to start with that ADAPT framework. So it's great. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. And so finally, Nikki Silvestri, who is the founder and CEO of Soil and Shadow, came and spoke to us. And I was so excited to speak with Nikki and hear her perspectives, particularly because her work is deeply involved with the environment across all levels of leadership, structural change from a government perspective to a community perspective. So deep, deep knowledge and expertise in that area. So very early on, I think in the episode, we were like, okay, so if there is environmental impact, what does that mean? And how do you think about AI? And her answer really surprised me because she said, it shouldn't have surprised me because I know Nikki is an expert at nuance and understanding how these systems work together. But it was that strong reminder, right? That it doesn't have to be all or nothing, that we can think about environmental impact in context and understanding, where we are using energy. Is it in Zoom? Is it in Spotify? What does that energy use look like? If we shifted it to artificial intelligence in some areas, what does that mean? So systems means holding that bigger picture and not just a quick soundbite or one decision was so helpful. And I think I left that conversation feeling really empowered and energized to make better decisions, to still hold a high level of accountability for myself, and also be willing to have a conversation and a difficult conversation where AI comes into, right, like the conversations that we have.
Absolutely. And I love talking to her from that environmental perspective. It helped me have a lot more nuance. The other thing that I took away, which is maybe a little bit, it definitely was obviously she was talking about it in terms of AI, but I also just think for all of us right now, the regional advocacy gap, like
Yes.
that concept around like we need to understand what's happening in our areas, in our local communities, how things like how the environment is being stressed, what's going on. And I think that's much broader than just AI
Yeah.
and data centers in general. Like advocacy really does matter and it makes a difference. And so, how can we get more involved? How can I be more aware, right? I'm sitting in the Phoenix Valley right now in Arizona, where multiple data centers are being built, right? Like there's just all kinds of things going on. And I have a responsibility to be aware
Yeah.
and get involved. And so I felt like that was so useful. And I'm maybe going to just bring up one more point that I thought was so relevant and building on a little bit of what Jordache was talking about too, from a systems perspective, is and going back to AI, the importance of having an AI policy for your
Yes.
organization, because the
Yes.
reality is everyone's using it.
Yeah.
Everyone's using it. Maybe not in a huge systemic or super intentional way, but everyone's on Claude or ChatGPT or getting help from Copilot, at least with like emails and editing, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so if you don't have some sort of policy or some point of view for your organization, for your team,
Yeah.
right? What's happening?
Yeah. What's going on? Like, yeah.
You feel
So
my stressed energy?
even if you don't, right? Like even if you don't want to use it, that is a position, right? And
Yeah.
leadership is about being clear of like, here's the direction we're going or not, and outlining what those corresponding steps, working agreements, policy, systems view, actions, like all of those elements. And so I think that in the midst of all that we're doing, yes, we're building companies. Yes, we are trying to uphold democracy, like all the thing, or maybe you're not, but or you probably, I don't know. Never mind. A lot too much to say there. But what I will say is that we understand that you have a lot going on. And if we are thinking about the future of your company, your team, your leadership, whatever you want to do, it's important for you to have this knowledge. And this is a place to study and spend some time. Do you have to become an expert? No. But as a leader, right, what is your position? What is your perspective? And how do you guide your team, yourself, your family in that direction?
And I just want to add one more thing from like the nuance perspective is as you're thinking about it for your organization, if you don't have a policy, right, people are going to do whatever they're
Mhm.
going to do until you have one. But as with any technology, any business you're partnering with, whether it's AI or your project management or whatever tool you're using, it's also our responsibility to be aware of like what are those companies doing? What
Yeah.
do they stand for? Do they align with our values as an organization, our principles, our mission, our purpose, right? And so just a reminder, like there are a lot of companies out there doing a lot of things and we have options. And
Yeah.
so it's important for us to consider what are those options? Do they feel aligned with what our company is doing?
Stand for. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. I love it. Good, good. So if you are not subscribed to our newsletter, then we recommend that you subscribe to our newsletter. Chloe, how can I do that?
In the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you will see a way to get to our newsletter in regular show notes on whatever podcast. There's the link to subscribe to our newsletter. So,
Yes, do that. Watch these episodes. If you didn't watch all of them, we encourage you to, especially with the folks that are our guests, because they bring so much deep knowledge. And we would love to hear from you. So
yes.
email us at podcast@cocreatework.com. What's your perspective, your takeaway? What's your struggle? As Chloe mentioned at the top of the conversation, we are looking to continue this conversation. It is where a lot of our leaders are spending time, spending brain power, building teams around. So join us in that conversation. Let us know what's coming up for you so we can continue to bring guests and bring points that'll really be helpful for you. That is what co creation is all about.
Yes. And with any guest we bring, whether AI or otherwise, right? Our approach and our goal is always to help you as a leader
Yeah.
to be a better leader, right?
Yeah.
Like that's our goal. That's what we want to help you do. So, um,
Yes.
with that, we're also wrapping up with this episode, not just the podcast or not just the AI series, but our season 4 of the podcast. So we are going to be taking a little break, fairly short. We will be back soon with season 5. Definitely subscribe to the newsletter for all the information about when season 5 is coming and what you can expect then. But we're taking a little break. We've got a lot of fun, exciting things coming for both the podcast, but also our business. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we look forward to it. So we are honored that you spend your time listening to podcasts. We know that there are so many. So thank you for listening to us or watching with us. And as always, thank you for your leadership. We'll talk soon.
We hope today's conversation gave you something to think about and, more importantly, something you can use. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to share it with another leader, entrepreneur, or friend who might benefit from hearing it. And for additional resources, frameworks, and tools related to our topic, please be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at cocreatework.com. And of course, if you have any question you'd like us to explore in a future episode, we would love to do that. So please send it to podcast@cocreatework.com. As always, thank you for being here and thank you for your leadership.